Welcome to Standard Chartered Money Insights, a podcast series by Standard Chartered Bank that brings you market views and insights on the go.
Hello, today is Monday the 17th of August. I'm Steve Brice and welcome to Cut to the Chase. Today I want to talk about staying in the game. Last week I hosted a debate between two experts in the equity field. One, our very own Sandeep Gantori, CIO for Equities, was taking the view that we are still several years away from a sustained bear market. The other expert was arguing that the markets are looking very frothy and that while he has a neutral allocation to equities for now, he was clearly looking for an opportunity to downgrade this to an underweight, as he's expecting a sizable drawdown in equities at some point in the coming 6 to 18 months. Now, why is this interesting? Well, they are both very smart and well-intentioned individuals, and yet they come to almost exactly the opposite conclusion. So what should we do with this? Well, the first thing is we need to become more comfortable with uncertainty. Nobody knows what is going to happen. If you listen to Sandeep and his compelling arguments, then you are likely to invest more in equities than if you only listen to the other speaker and his cautious outlook. So what does comfort with uncertainty in the real world mean? Well, it means not being all in on any view of the world. Understand that things will pan out in ways that nobody expects. Sometimes this will be better than expected and sometimes worse. We do not know with absolute certainty who will be the main beneficiaries of AI. However, we can be pretty sure that the longer you extend your time horizon, the greater the probability that the stock market will move higher. Therefore, the key is to stay in the game. Now, this means different things to different people, but some of the strategies to stay in the game include, firstly, avoid excessive leverage. At the end of July, we saw a leveraged hedge fund get into significant difficulties as the decline in the value of its stock holdings triggered margin calls and then forcing them to sell the bulk of its portfolio. Now, when it comes to us, defining excessive in excessive leverage is challenging, as it's both mathematical but also behavioural in nature. Mathematically, you should look at the worst performance of a similar portfolio to what you're holding now, historically over time, and assume that something slightly worse happens going forward. Would you receive margin calls that you could not fund? And even if the answer is no, how would you feel about seeing those magnified losses, and would you feel that you should cut your losses, possibly at exactly the wrong time? We see time and again that investors either do not undertake this analysis or misjudge the risks, leading to a permanent or semi-permanent loss of wealth. In my opinion, it is really not worth sailing close to the wind on this one. The second strategy is to diversify across geographies, sectors and asset classes. As markets do not move in lockstep, just doing this can reduce the volatility of your portfolio. Of course, this does reduce the probability of doubling your money in a short period of time, but it also reduces the probability of sharp losses. And thirdly, hold cash or cash-like investments on the sidelines. This has two benefits. First, it removes concerns about needing to sell investments to fund your lifestyle, particularly important for retirees. But it also creates dry powder for potentially taking advantage of market weakness as markets go on sale. When faced with sharp market losses, the temptation is to do something. Having cash on the sidelines may increase the probability that this is adding to investments rather than reducing them. Now, I understand that this might be motherhood and apple pie to a lot of listeners. But how many of you know, off the top of your head, what is the breakdown of your portfolio today? And what drawdown would that portfolio would experience during different historical episodes, such as the dot-com bubble, or the global financial crisis, or COVID? If you don't know this, then the risk of you overreacting, either due to margin calls or to emotional reaction to losses at some time in the future, is much higher, as you're just not prepared for it. Therefore, if there is one thing you should do today, it is to get an understanding of this and then figure out where you want to be. Do this analysis, or even better, get your financial advisor to help you. Make sure you run the analysis on both just the invested part of your portfolio, but then again, you're including your deposits. Once you've done this, you can then work on where you want to be and have a plan to get there. Just having gone through this process will hopefully help you feel much more in control of your financial future, despite accepting that predicting markets, especially in the short term, is nigh on impossible. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. We look forward to chatting with you again tomorrow. In the meantime, please take care.
Thank you for listening to Standard Chartered Money Insights, a podcast series by Standard Chartered Bank. For more details, visit Market Views on the Go on our website or click the link in the description.